Hello everybody and welcome back to Read by Ross, the show where I read books and hopefully you read them too with the power of my voice on the internet. These intros get harder and harder every time. So welcome back ladies and gentlemen, and today I'm doing it first by doing my first ever top 5 book list. I'm going to be doing a top 5 of my favourite books, and hopefully if you like them you'll go out and give them a read yourself. And what better way to get that started by tackling a very heavy subject that is mental health. One of my favourite things to read about, and one of the things that I want to write about as well, is mental health. And reading from other people's experiences on how they cope with the situation at hand, like how they cope with either depression or anxiety, has been a very good thing. And now we're starting to open up about mental health problems, and the best way that we can get that out there is through books and through the medium. And books have been, and I've been reading so many mental health books that I've just fell in love with every single one every time I read them, and I thought I would try and compact them down to my top 5 favourite ones just for you and just for this list alone. It was a pretty difficult list to make at first, but then after a while and after refreshing myself with the books that I loved, I finally came across what I consider my personal top 5 favourite books on mental health. So let's get started with at number 5 with the wonderful book Remember This When You Are Sad by Maggie Van Eyck. I can't pronounce that name, I'm sorry if she's watching this. So Remember This When You Are Sad is a personal book written by Maggie about her experiences dealing with anxiety and depression. And one of the most encapsulating things about this book is that she breaks down each and every single problem that she had in individual chapters, saying remember this when you're having sex, remember this when you're out with friends, remember this when you're eating with people. I mean, it sounds like she's pretty much compacting all of her problems, but when you're in a situation like this, yeah, you kind of need a book that breaks it down one by one to show you what the problems that you're going to be facing look like. Ultimately, what this book accomplishes is that it's funny, but it's also personal to the point where you can actually relate to what this girl's going through and understand her problems as she has. And even something as so much as going out with drinks with friends and seeing an ex-partner, which triggers an anxiety attack for her, is enough for her to want to go set over the edge. It really is a hard-hitting encapsulating book. It shows you how awful anxiety is for certain people that, you know, they can't even go about their day without one thing just making them just go off the rails in their own head. And, you know, she writes a beautiful life-affirming message to it. She really cares about the story that she's telling and how she goes about it. And this book is a wonderful starting point for anybody who wants to get into mental health books. It is a funny and sad, but most of all, a lovely, affirming book that I think can help everybody out in the long way. So number 4 on my list is a bit more funnier than the other books, but still keeping in the theme of mental health, and that is the wonderful How to Survive the End of the World When It's Inside Your Own Head by Aaron Gillis at number 4. Now, even though this book is more tongue-in-cheek, it's funnier. Like, he writes it with a sense of humour. You can tell he's writing with a sense of humour to really just to alleviate the whole problem at hand here. It's a problem for him, but he wants to make himself comfortable talking about it by using a sense of humour. And in his own way, it helps. It's like a comfort blanket for him in a lot of ways. But it doesn't detract from the fact that he still has anxiety and he still has a lot of problems that he wants to deal with. And this book is a perfect example of that. And he shows you how to get over them yourself. And he pretty much tells you that you're not alone in this situation when you have anxiety. And it goes through all of the things that he can have problems with, you know, all the voices in his head that, you know, that comes from this. And even references to conversations that he has with people when he admits that he wanted to write a book about anxiety. And it's insane how people are just kind of like, oh, I wouldn't do that. And he still does it anyway because he still believes that this is something that he has to be done. And thankfully he does it, and he gives you this wonderful, funny and very much heartfelt book which helps to make you realise that no, the voices in your head aren't telling the truth, they're picking on you, and you're not alone in a situation like this. And this book is a nice little funny way of coping with that. And hopefully by the end of it, not only can you laugh about it, but also feel like, yeah, I don't have, the voices in my head are funny because they're stupid, they're trying to make fun of me, and I don't have to listen to them. And this book is a perfect representation of that. So at number 3 on my list, I think we should actually have a proper book that shows you how to deal with issues at hand, such as therapy, counselling, prescription drugs, and also other alternatives that actually are better suited to help you down the line. I'm of course talking about my number 3 book, Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy by Dr. David D. Burns, MD. And you can tell it's an important book because he's got MD on the end there. So for those of you who don't know, Feeling Good by Dr. David Burns is a wonderful book about cognitive behavioural therapy, i.e., you know, you're writing down the problems that you have in your head. And it goes through this, he goes through this book pretty much explaining the benefits of certain therapy techniques, such as cognitive behavioural therapy, counselling, and of course, antidepressant drugs. And it is a wonderful insight into the world of somebody from the practitioner's point of view, coming through to somebody to help out somebody with these problems. And as much as he likes to big up cognitive behavioural therapy, which he believes is the perfect way to solve these problems, and I'm totally for that, and I know people who are doing cognitive behavioural therapy and it works for them too, it is a very nice insight into getting an understanding of whether it's antidepressants or depression of some kinds, or counselling or therapy or everything else like that. And he explains it in a very much in a medicinal manner, but in a polite manner as well. Like, you get the sense that he's having a conversation with you about this in a way that he respects you and understands you. And for a book like that, from a doctor's point of view, it's actually a really well-written piece of narrative. There's not he also explains the experiences he has with the people that he's worked with in the past, who he's gone on through with cognitive behavioural therapy, as well as some other alternatives as well. And through that, you know, you get a sense that he does care about the people that he wants to work with, and, you know, helps them out along the way. And it's a good insight, and if you want to do your research, this is a good homework book as well for anybody who who just wants to learn what goes on inside the world of a depressive's head, as well as what is really the whole thing about antidepressants that makes them so important. Plus, you'll also learn some good techniques about cognitive behavioural therapy as well. I'm not going to lie that I got inspired to do some writing after reading this book. I really got some poem ideas out of it, but either way, it was a good book and a good read for that inspiration. So whether you find something out of this, I hope you do, because this is a perfect book for that, for people who just don't know what the world that they get involved in. And number 2 on my list is obviously the number 1 for Never Judge a Book by its cover list, even though this cover is absolutely gorgeous. This book came all the way from Australia, and I absolutely think this is one of the best books about anxiety I have ever read, and it's number 2 on my list, and I'll get to why that is in a second. But I am, of course, talking about First We Make the Beast Beautiful by Sarah Wilson. Sarah Wilson is an Australian nutritionalist as well as meditator, and she wrote a book about how she deals with that by helping her deal with her anxiety. And this is the book about that, and this book is incredible. I absolutely loved this book when I started reading it. Firstly, can I just talk about the cover? It is absolutely gorgeous. Like, you know, it's got an octopus on the front, and it, like, you know, which is a reference to the Demon and Master Margarita. Little callback to the last video I made. I don't really get how much when I do these videos. But also, it also is a nice cover. I just love the cover of this book. But that doesn't detract from the rest of the book itself, because the rest of the book is a gorgeous insight into how Sarah Wilson coped with her anxiety, as well as talking to other people with their problems as well. It's an insightful book that really gets to the main vein of how she really copes with all the situations at hand. And her best answer to all of this, which is a main theme in a lot of these books, is meditating. She loves to meditate in this book, and she explains how meditation works for her as well. As well as being a nutritionalist, she also looks after her diet and all. Well, that's her job. She writes her other books that she wrote before this were all books about diet and all that sort of stuff. So this was a first for her, and my god, this anxiety book is gorgeous for that. I love this book, and they've now released a paperback edition of this, which I might have to pick up, because I don't know if you can quite tell, but the edges of this book are starting to wear thin, because I read it all the way through and it's starting to age. But honestly, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous read, and I might have to reread it again at some point soon. It has some beautiful cruel irony moments as well, where she's just making fun of the people who pretty much have something bad to say about the situation at hand. She also talks about books that she was inspired by to want to get her into writing the books that got her to writing this. And she also gives you a nice list of the books that she loves as well, that related to her when she was going through this as well. So this book is for anyone who wants to start off easy in reading about anxiety. And my god, I cannot recommend this book enough. It is just perfect. One of the first books I read this year, and I loved it. And yet it's number 2 on my top 5 mental health books. So what could number 1 be? Let's find out. So before I go on to the number 1 pick, I'm going to do a quick honourable mention now to the book that pretty much started this whole thing off. This wonderful new collective of books that pretty much opened the world of mental health up into the literary world. And that is Andrew Sullivan's The Noonday Demon. Now, I cannot give too much about this book away, because realistically I've only just about, here's my bookmark there, I'm not much that far into it, but from what I've read, it is a powerful and engaging read. And I don't know if you can tell, but the thickness of this book is insane. It's like a dictionary, but that's because it's so layered and it's so detailed and it's so descriptive of what he's going through. Plus, Andrew Solomon was interviewing people with a similar problems that he was having. It was really went into the book as well, and it is phenomenal what he gets across. And he's not afraid to get really personal with the stuff he talks about. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but at one point he contemplates suicide by trying to get AIDS. Let that sink in for a second. But this is a phenomenal read, and from what I'm reading so far, it is a really good book, and I need to properly sit down and finish reading the rest of it. But like I say, it's just like a tome of a book. Like, look at the size of it, it's insane. And once I finish reading it, I'll probably give a proper full in-depth review, but for right now, I've just gone by what I'm reading, and it's really good. Also, it gets an honourable mention because it was the book that kickstarted it all. Pretty much, if you were to go into the back of all of these books, they all reference that this book was a big influence for them. And you can understand that when you read it because, my word, he is personal, he gets to the point, and it is gorgeous. And the Noonday Demon, we've got to thank for pretty much getting people to say, write what you're feeling and get it out there. Because without this book, these other books would have never existed. And now we have our #1 top picks of my top 5 favourite books about mental health. And since this is my first top 5 list, I can gladly say I am cheating, because I don't have one book at the top spot, I have 2. They are both by the same author, and they are great because they really are incredibly beautiful, well written, stunning books that I think are gorgeous and more people need to read because they're so good and just they're brilliant in everything that he does. I am of course talking about Reasons to Stay Alive and Notes on a Nervous Planet by the wonderful and the hero that he is, Matt Haig. Now, Matt Haig is a fiction writer and he writes some phenomenal fiction books, which I plan on doing another top 5 list on at some point soon. But the first book that introduced me to his style and to who he was as an author was this book, and it was utterly outstanding. He, in his own way, in his own simplistic use of words, writes the most beautiful, poignant, but most of all personal messages about what he was going through with his depression and anxiety in such a way that you're just like, damn, this guy cannot be afraid of anything once he's survived it all. And most of all, he's speaking from a point of view where he wants you to carry on and he wants you to keep going and he wants you to get to the other side because he really does believe that there is beauty in the world. And this book is stunning for that, and even though it's just this tiny short thing, you're just by the end of it hooked on every single page, following every word, just translating it so much, and it's beautiful. There is literally one chapter in this book where he talks about the problems of the world, and that was enough for me to go that this book is amazing. And I love it, and I've reread this time and time again when I've been in my bad states as well. And ultimately, he really does want the best for people in this book, and he's become a personal ambassador for mental health people by writing this book. So much so that a few years later, he came out with this, Notes on a Nervous Planet, which really does deal with, you know, how we have anxiety and depression in the world that we live in right now. And everybody's getting problematic because of it, because there's so much going on in this world that it's insane that we're just sitting there and just soaking it all in, and it's making us all depressed. And it's true, it is. It's heartbreaking to go through some of the stuff that this book is capable of. And I love this book, and he really gets it down again. Like, if he's done it, you know, knocks it out of the park once, it's great, but does it twice, that's amazing how he's able to do that. And apparently he's got a third mental health book that he's writing along the way, as well as some other stuff. And I cannot wait to read it. I'm a huge fan of his work. I was fortunate enough to go meet Matt Haig when he came to Edinburgh doing his Notes on the Nervous Planet tour. He signed my copy of The Humans, which I'll get into in another video further down the line. But he is a true inspiration and a true icon, and something that we can all take away from his books is that, you know, it's never too late to give up. You can do this and you can survive. If he's survived, you can too. And in the simplest way, that's all you need to know about that. And ultimately, if you want to know about Matt Haig's impact on some of these books here reference Matt Haig. He gave them that voice, and he gave them that voice out there. And in the same way, you know, if it wasn't for the Noonday Demon, Matt Haig probably wouldn't have wrote this book as well. Because there wasn't anything like that for him at the time. And there wasn't anything for people to read like that. And this is why these top 5 mental health books are important, because you get your voice out there. And you get what you need to say out of your head into the world. And we owe these authors a lot by doing that. Because, you know, it's not easy to say what's going on. And it's not easy to say how you're feeling. but these books are a start and a stepping point to help people get it in that way. So that's my top 5 mental health books. Please, you know, follow them, give them a read, give me a follow back if you like them and all that sort of stuff. I love these books and I hope that you love them too, and I hope most of all that you get something out of them as well. Please join me next time when I'll do another either book review or another top 5. I don't know yet. The nature of the show, I can do whatever I want. I'm really not that complacent. But no, in all seriousness, please join me next time where I'll hopefully be talking about more books. I love doing this and I hope you enjoy watching it too. Until next time, my name is Ross Hepburn. Stay safe, folks. Stay safe, they're in their house.